get started in this part, I'm going to be looking at player controls. In particular, I'm going to be looking at third-person controls, and we have here this sample scene which you can find inside the course companion files in the mover folder. So we have this scene open here, and inside this scene, which is this test environment we can have here, you can see that we have this capsule object. In fact, I'm going to select the capsule object and I'm going to name this to player. Now you can see that this object, the player, has a script attached. In fact, it has two custom scripts attached. The Gizmo Show script, which was coded in the previous part. This script will display the gizmos for the selected object here in the viewport. So for this character here, we can see the radius or the range of this object, and the blue line indicates the forward vector, that is the direction in which the object is facing. But we also have this player control script, which allows us to use the keyboard keys, the W, A, S, and D keys, or the keyboard arrows to move this object around the scene. Just let me demonstrate that by pressing play on the toolbar. And in the scene tab here, you can see that by using the keys on the keyboard, I can rotate the player by moving left and right. So the player character will turn on the spot to face a new direction. And I can use the up and the down arrows to walk forwards and back. And using this combination of controls, I have the ability to move the player character anywhere in the scene, and things are looking absolutely fine. However, there is a problem that I will come back to in just a moment. But to demonstrate how this code achieves this effect here, I'm going to go to MonoDevelop and take a look at the code that gets us to this result. So here is MonoDevelop, and you can see that really this is a pretty simple piece of code. We have a speed variable which controls the movement speed of the character. We also have a rotation speed that controls how quickly the character can turn whenever we press the left or the right key on the keyboard. We have the transform component, which is simply a reference to the transform component on the object that will allow us to change its rotation and its position. And then down here inside the update function, you can see that we're reading the input from the keyboard, both the horizontal axis, the left and the right keys, as well as the vertical axis, the up and the down keys. And down here we're using the rotation variable, and we are using quaternion multiplication. You can see that we're doing the multiplication here, and we're simply rotating this object every single frame. Notice that it's being multiplied by the horizontal factor here, and this will be 0 if no keys are pressed at all, which means that any number multiplied by 0 will be 0, in which case there will be no change when no key is pressed. That's exactly what we want. A similar thing is happening here for the motion. We're taking the position of the character here, and we're using vector multiplication, multiplying our speed by our forward vector to move the character in the direction in which we're looking. Both of these subjects, quaternion multiplication and vector multiplication, were considered in the previous part of this course, and just by combining these two ideas together, we have a completely controllable player character. I'm going to go back to the Unity editor here and press play on the toolbar once again, but this time I'm going to demonstrate to you the problem that we have. The key problem is this: although I can move the character anywhere I want in the scene, it literally does mean that. For example, I can walk straight through this pillar. I can walk straight through the wall here. So I'm just going to walk straight through the wall. And you can see that although I've passed through the wall, I can still continue walking around, and Unity does nothing to stop me. I can pass back through the wall here, back into the room. And in fact, I can raise the character up in the scene, way up here, and still move them around as though there were no gravity at all. Unity does nothing to stop me. It simply doesn't care. I can just walk through solid objects. You can see the transform component here is simply changing the values as the multiplication is occurring. So the key problem is that by using the transform component to set the rotation and the position of player characters, there's no validation over our position. The transform component allows us to set the position of an object to anywhere we want in the scene, and it doesn't check if physical objects are in the way at all. It will do nothing to collide. It will do nothing to stop one object passing through another. Now, typically for player characters, we don't want that. We want player characters to interact with the physical objects in the level while still allowing the player to control the player character within those limitations. In the next movie, we're going to look at how we can start doing that.